Hi guys, Ali from JCW Ventures. Today I'm just going to give you guys a quick overview of the AEM air intake on the R56 Mini. Obviously I've run the kit myself since it came out back in 2014, around then, so I've lived it with over about 80,000 miles on the clock with it on. So I've been back and forth, been in good weather, bad weather, rain, slow, sleet, and you can see if we'll moan it. And obviously I'm just going to go over the benefits of having the induction kit and why you want one yourself basically. So now I'm just going to change over because this is Rob's car basically. So I thought I'd decide, obviously keep the channel a bit more variety in it, showcase other people's cars. So this is Rob's car. He's got the N18 engine that people love to love. So he's got the AEM air induction kit on. So what the AEM air induction kit does, you'll see what the AEM have done. Basically, the scoop is now actually fully utilized. It funnels the air down into another separate air box. Obviously, you get rid of the JCW standard air box, and it all funnels into that. So that gives you extra horsepower. It's obviously with the N18, it fully utilizes the existing air funnel there as well. It's basically allowing more engine air into the engine, so it produces more power. So with that, obviously low end of dyno tested it as well on the N14 engine, and similar levels that I got as well. So I gained an extra 15 brake horsepower by just having that bonnet scoop intake. So it's actually a real cold forced in air induction kit. Yes, you can change, you can go down other routes, so you can put a panel filter in. If you haven't got the budget yet, 20 or 30 pound there, and that will get you 1 or 2 brake horsepower, but then all you do is purely going to gain is noise. But with this kit, and why it's actually the best on the market, it forces air in into the K&N air filter, which AEM provide part of the kit just here. And essentially you can fit this kit on your driveway if you're sort of mechanically sound. So argument's sake, you talk about around about an hour or so around then. Obviously, like anything, the first time you do it is going to take longer to do it. But yeah, all the kit provides everything what you need to do to put the induction kit on. And so yeah, with the main benefits as well, you gain 15 brake horsepower. Another surprising benefit as well, you actually gain 5 more gallon per more MPG on your car. Personally, on my car with the N14, I gained 5 MPG. Rob has experienced similar levels as well. So argument's sake, I've driven to Scotland. Me and Rob have gone on the same road trip, and we've gone to Scotland. And so before he had the induction kit, so he got there with an N18 engine. I had about 89,000 miles, about 100,000 miles on my car. We both drove to Scotland from a similar point at similar level of fuel. Both had V-power in there. I got there in half a tank, and Rob had to fill up just before we got to Scotland, even though we had same fuel, drove on the same speeds. There were times where I overtook him and he overtook me, and we essentially slipstreaming one another. But then that period, and that's how much fuel I got there in half a tank, and he essentially I had to wait for him to fuel his car and then put fuel into his car. So essentially the kit will pay back for itself. Yes, the kit is now expensive, so argument's sake, the kit now is around about £380. That's with all the bits, and obviously if you want the strut brace, Rob hasn't got the strut brace on his, that's an additional £250 as well. So obviously all in, if you want the brace and the induction kit, look around £500 all in. Yes, it's just a lot of money, but obviously just generally the benefits of it forcing air into the kit. I've had no issues with mine over this 5 or so years. I've had mine over 80,000 miles done on mine. It's been faultless. So I've gone through pouring rain, everyone thinks, because the scoop bringing in air in, and obviously if it's raining, bringing the air in, coming down into it and then shoving it into the air filter. I've done like torrential rain and the airbox has been bone dry. No fault engine floats have been folded up, and vice versa. When me and Rob have gone to Scotland in the winter in the snow with our winter tyres on, there has been sort of no drop in performance. If anything, probably more, the cold air being forced in with the snow and everything. And throughout UK's, typically we have a wet climate. There's been no faults with issues, haven't been any rattles. But I do understand a lot of people in the hotter countries do have an issue with the AEM heat shield. That's been a topic of debate. But me personally and Rob personally, we've done various track days. We've done around Top Gear test track, You've gone around Goodwood. I've gone around the ring with mine attached, and I have zero issue. But obviously, from what I've picked up as well, that people tend to take that heat shield off. Once you take that off, the turbo is fully exposed, and obviously the turbo is generating the heat that it does. Minis naturally run hot anyway, and it causes this heat shield to melt and obviously damaging the rocket cover. But obviously Mini built the hill sheet to be there in the first place, so arguments if you are going to run one, or if you don't want to run that AEM heat shield underneath, get a turbo blanket that'll do the same thing. But obviously having this heat shield for AEM does stop the plastic from warming up, so obviously you don't want to induction heat up the bonnet scoop when the cold air is going in, so then you'll have increasing air temperatures, and obviously then you're essentially feeding hot air into the engine bay. And once again, that's another sort of bleeds onto another issue as well, having the AEM induction kit as well, because it's fully enclosed. So obviously the Mini engine runs really hot as standard. So a standard idling water temperature heat for an R56 Mini is 108 degrees. So the car is sort of sitting hot, but obviously that helps it pass emissions. But with that, especially with the AEM air intake, it's an enclosed box, so the air that is going into it and the air filter is not exposed to hot engine, because look at it, it's right next to the engine cover, so there's no actual heat going into to the air filter as well. So yes, you can go to an open air filter, but then all you're doing is drawing hot air in, and in all fairness, you're just going to get heat soak, and the car won't perform as well as it should do with a force feed air induction kit. Just the kit itself, it's beautiful. They did update it for the N18 engine, so now they have the how clean the air filter is there on the side. So when it's in the green, that means it's fine. When you get to yellow, sort of start thinking about changing it, when obviously naturally when you hit the red, you need to replace that air filter. That's a nice little cool touch. And just in the engine bay generally as well, just the kit, the fitment is sort of perfect. There's no sort of rattles. Everything you need in the kit is there, and obviously that it's a K&N air filter, so you can't really go wrong with a K&N air filter. But the induction noise in the cabin is a bit more better, so you get more of a turbo whistle as well. So that just amps up to everything, and obviously especially on motorway speeds and highway speeds, just feeding that extra 15 brake horsepower does make a significant distance. I can't seriously think of any negatives. The only negatives have been brought about with the AEM induction kit is people taking away the heat shield, but that's kind of self-inflicting damage on yourself. For argument's sake, that's like running shorter wheel bolts on your car. Even though you're running spaces, your wheel's going to fall off, so it's your own sort of fault there on that side of things. The only issues I have seen over mine as well, over time, this rubber, it just like anything, like any kind of rubber, it kind of perishes over time. So that's a small part to pay, like it's like £12 to get it replaced. When you are fitting the kit as well, so make sure you put some Loctite on these bolts, so it stays. Obviously, I found when I first had the kit was when it's in its first iteration, these would come loose and rattle about, but obviously over time you just screw them up, so they sort of sit tight. But other than that, that's the only sort of issues I've ever had. But going through rain, snow, and running the kit all year round, I've never had an issue. It's just been every a year, every 2 years, something around then, I changed the air filter. Just to be, obviously you can clean that the Kane air kit, but I just prefer the air filter off myself and just put a new one in. Everyone has their own preference whether they want to clean it or reuse it, because it is a reusable air filter, unlike an AEM air filter. But yeah, but the kit's essentially perfect. Another sort of final issue as well, so maybe these plastic grommets, sometimes when you do push them in, they're kind of one-time use. So when you do push them in, make sure you push them in firmly, so they sort of stay in place basically. Sometimes I've had that as well, where it's a bit more loose and you're sort of trying to push it back in, because they're made of plastic, they're sort of one-time use. You push them in and you can't really pull them out and put them back in again. You just have to buy the spares off AEM, but then they're quite cheap. They're like 60 pence or something. So but yeah, obviously you got the rubber there, so ideally make sure that it's flush as well, just up there on the lip, so you're not losing any air. But other than that, the kit fits on perfectly. It's just a great kit. I cannot fault AEM at all. Obviously, if you go back to JCW Ventures, my website, the full review is on there. So me talking about the kit's cost, how I've driven it, how it's been perfect and faultless. It's literally the best kit you can get out there. Obviously this is just on the R56 series. The minis, obviously yes, the R55, just the second gen minis. But obviously eVenturi, they've made their own one for the third gen mini. But obviously that is a lot more money than this. So there's kits like running into £1,000. But yeah, well, this is like 380 quid, absolute max. You can get it cheaper. For argument's sake, on Amazon sometimes it appears quite cheap, and obviously official suppliers like Lowen, various other distributors across the UK as well, they supply it. It's very much so take your pick. So Originate as well, they do the kit as well. It's very much taking your pick and where you feel you want to put your own money. That's just purely my recommendation. Obviously, yes, you can go into the thing, well, what if I got the car remapped? I've always been against it. I just thought this is a perfect way to add more air into the engine bay, not fiddling with the ECU, and the car will still operate how it is. Where me personally, I just think the mini engines are finicky as it is, and they don't essentially like more stress unless you can afford the engine, spend more money into it. As a perfect like day-to-day driver, if you just want to get a bit more induction noise, a little bit more power, because my horsepower raised from 208, then you went to 225, just purely down to the AEM induction kit. So to me, it's worth its weight in gold, and it's also essentially the fuel essentially saved. Essentially, the kit's paid for itself over the years. So it's just great round all kit, so I can't fault it at all. So yeah, guys, that concludes the video. I just want to thank everyone for giving it a view. So yeah, if there are any questions, drop your fuel in the comments. Obviously, you got my Instagram, so you can contact me there as well. And obviously, the JCW Ventures the website. So give this my YouTube channel a subscribe, so we can make more content. So any sort of things that you want me to shoot a video on, or mini parts, or just ownership again, any of the issues that I've had, give the channel a subscribe so I can grow it. And thank you for your support, guys, and continue watching. As always, guys, it's a mini adventure. Try and keep up.